Hey guys, it's Alana and welcome back for another episode of Seeing Other People. You guys, we are back. We have Carly Silverman here back for a part 2 of our big Q&A because you guys sent in so many questions and they were so good. We didn't want to not answer them all, so we're back. Carly, for those who don't know, introduce yourself.
Oh my gosh, where do I start? I'm Carly at Carly R. Silverman on TikTok. If you don't follow me, follow me. I'm 28 years old. I live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida with my boyfriend of 2 years. I work in social media. I used to work at a dating app. Now I kind of just do my own thing. I consult with different companies and help their socials. And I'm just kind of doing TikTok full time.
Hell yeah, you are. Guys, literally during this recording, Carly's going to hit 100K on TikTok.
I'm at 99.9.
She's at 99.9. It's happening. This is
It's
crazy.
a big moment.
It's going to be wild. Carly, how's your day going?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. We just did a really fun episode, so yeah. I'm excited for that.
I love this back to back. We're just like recording. We're just recording.
We just haven't stopped talking.
We're just recording.
I don't know what we have to talk about, but we just haven't stopped talking.
There's so much.
I know.
There's so much. Okay, let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. The first question we have is post-pandemic. Is it still weird to call or FaceTime first? How do you weed out the people worth your time?
Oh, the pandemic is not the reason that I FaceTime people for the date. I was doing that way before the pandemic. I'm pretty sure people thought I was weird at first because I would FaceTime every single boy before going on a date with them. I think you know in the first 5 minutes if you're going to vibe with someone. So why not have a little FaceTime date before you actually make your way to go meet someone?
How would you approach this? Because I know people might want to, but they feel awkward asking.
So I'm very forward. In the first 5 minutes of me and Jason matching, and then we went over to Instagram and started DMing, all I said was, want to FaceTime tonight?
Why'd you go over to Instagram?
That's a good question. So I think we were talking about our mutual friends.
Ah, okay.
So I went to Instagram and I wanted to follow him, to be honest, because I wanted to do a little more stalking. So that was my way of like seeing more, which you don't need to do. You don't need to stalk the person before you go on a date with them, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
So we started Instagram DMing, and then I was just like, want to FaceTime later? And it's funny, I found our conversation. I was like looking back at it, and he was like, I've never done that, but sure.
But okay.
Shoot your shot. I don't know.
What would you do if you FaceTimed and you didn't vibe?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I would just be honest. I would be like, hey, like, so great meeting you. I don't know what I would do.
Like, I'm not sure we have that much in common, or like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so great meeting you. Like, not sure, like, exactly, not sure how much we have in common, or
but
I don't know if I felt the vibe.
Good luck out there. The same, you know what? It doesn't matter. The point is, like, I'm not going to go out with you, and I'm communicating that to you to let you know, and I'm not ghosting. And we just saved ourselves a whole night.
Exactly.
And it feels rude to do in the moment, but it's not. It's just like, okay, this isn't it. And that's okay.
It's not personal. It's just, hey,
It's
we
not
didn't
personal.
vibe.
Yeah.
Like, you're great. We didn't vibe. That's cool.
That's okay.
Move on.
Not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Next question. When is the right time to move in? Is 8 months too early?
I mean, you're talking to someone who moved in with her ex-boyfriend after like a month or two of dating. Highly don't recommend doing that. I think it just depends where you are in life and really how you feel, and don't do it out of convenience.
Yeah.
So I moved in
Huge.
with my ex-boyfriend when I was in LA because my lease was up. I didn't have anyone to live with. He didn't have a lease at the time. So I was like, oh, this makes sense. I'm not going to get an apartment by myself or try to find a roommate. Like, I couldn't afford living by myself at the time. So it just makes sense we move in together. Don't do that. We lived together for 3 months and then we broke up. So don't do it out of convenience. Do it because you are really ready to take that next step and you really see a long-term future with them.
A lot of people I've spoken to who are married have said that getting married wasn't the transition or the big thing. Moving in together was.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot that I learned about Jason when moving in together, and it wasn't easy at first. Like, we live very differently. And that was tough at first, but I agree with that. You have to live with someone, in my opinion, before you get married because you just learn so much. But to answer your question about the 8 months, I don't think there's a time limit. I think there's just, does it feel right in the moment for you guys? And is that where you are in your relationship?
I agree. And I think it's one of those things where, listen, if you try and it doesn't work out, yeah, it's a little inconvenient and awkward, but you tried.
Yeah. Just
That's
don't
not-
do it out of convenience.
Yeah, that's not to say like don't do it before you're ready. Like you should feel
Yeah.
ready and excited and like this is a next step I want to take in our relationship because it's a really big step.
I also would recommend to anybody listening, if you haven't lived alone, I think it's
Yes.
really important
Huge.
to live alone.
Ding, ding, ding. Live alone.
Jason and I were dating when, you know, we were both kind of moving to Florida, and we could have been like, let's just move in together and it's convenient. Let's just get an apartment together. But I was like, you know what? I have never lived alone before. I need to experience that. So I lived alone an entire year, and I would just recommend it.
I think living alone is the best thing you can do before living with a partner, because for me, listen, like I work remotely. I work from home. Jake goes to work. He sometimes works until like 10 p.m. and I end up being alone most evenings, especially, you know, during the weekend. Sometimes he works weekends, and people have been saying to me, like, is that really hard for you? And I'm like, listen, like I'm okay on my own. Like I'm okay being independent. I don't feel lonely. Like if I want to make plans, I'll go make plans. Otherwise, like I'm okay in my own company. I feel bad for him because he's the one at work.
Yeah.
And had I not lived alone for a year, I would not have felt that way.
I completely agree. I would have been so dependent.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to just be comfortable on your own so you don't always feel like you need to be spending time with them.
Agreed.
Or like when you're in the apartment, let's say like he wants to play Xbox and you want to watch your show, that's fine. You can both do separate things because you're two complete individuals outside of your relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. I ended dating him, but I still am thinking about him so much 2 months later. What do I do?
You move on.
Why?
You ended it for a reason, right?
Yeah.
I will never believe in breaks. I don't believe in breaking up and getting back together. Obviously, there are, of course, circumstances, and you have to do, you know, what you feel is right. But try to think of the reasons why you broke up. Because I did this too, and I hope whoever asked this question is listening. But when my ex-boyfriend broke up with me, I knew we were supposed to break up. Like there were so many things, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But then for a year after, I'm not kidding, an entire year, I was like, I wish we were together. But the best thing I would suggest you do is take out your journal, take out something, write down all of the reasons why you broke up and why it didn't work. And just keep telling yourself that. It's going to take time. You're allowed to feel sad. You're allowed to still think about him. It's a loss. You have to grieve. But just try to remember why you broke up.
I think that is incredible advice. And I think that applies whether, to your point, whether you're the person who did the breaking up and you're having regrets or you're the person who got dumped. Even if you were broken up with, there's no world in which you thought the relationship was perfect.
Yeah.
You could literally, to your point, like I also was crying for a year,
Yeah.
like depressed and thinking like, well, what if we had done this differently? What if we had done that differently? Like the highs were so high, but the lows were so low.
It's hard to remember the lows after a breakup because all you want is to
Like
remember,
glorify the relationship and think of it as a sparkly thing that you now lost. And you want to play the victim and you want to feel pity and feel bad for yourself. But yeah, I completely agree. There are reasons you broke up, and more likely than not, those reasons haven't changed. Those things are still there. You know, let's do this example. In Friends, Monica and Richard break up because he doesn't want to have kids again and she wants kids. And then like 6 months later, once they've like moved on, they see each other, they reconnect, and she really wants to get back with him. And he's like, but nothing's changed. And she's like, but yes, it has. And he's like, I still don't want what you want. We still don't want the same thing.
And at first she was like, okay, I don't need that. Like, I just want to be back with you. But no, yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. I wish.
His name was Richard, right?
Yes.
Cool.
I wish I can go back and like while I was so depressed after my last breakup and shake myself being like, don't you see like the problems here? Like, do you really want to be with that?
Like you're miserable in the relationship.
Yeah. Like, don't you remember that?
Yeah.
But it's hard to see it.
Yeah. It takes time.
Also, 2 months is nothing.
Yeah. Talk to us in another 2 months or 20 months or 2 years. Like,
talk to me in a year. And if you're still thinking about him, I got you.
Give yourself time. Does still living with your family make you undesirable?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Everyone has different Like, everyone's going through different things. You don't know what's happening. Jason lived with his parents for the entire time I was living in Miami after COVID because it was just not worth it for him to go get an apartment. Like, it's okay. It does not make you undesirable.
Yeah, well said. I completely agree. Is there a reason why women won't give the nice guy chances? I thought about this when I saw this question. Here's my thought. I think it comes down to the more like assholey out there guys who might be more confident, more outgoing, they're more likely to put themselves in the position to meet the girl. Mm-hmm. Whereas the nice guys might be a little more reserved, a little more quiet. They're not gonna, be all like coming up to you at the bar or making all these moves and kind of putting themselves into your world. I think at the end of the day, every single woman that I know wants a nice guy. That is all we want. And it's funny because when I was single, I was wondering, where are all the nice guys? Where the fuck are they? I don't see them. Mm-hmm. I can't find them. And I think it just comes down to, it takes time and everybody's going to go out with people who aren't the right fit. But at the end of the day, you have to just keep putting yourself out there. And I think just keep having an open mind. Yeah. Like you don't need to always go for the assholes and go for the people who are, fuck boyish. Yeah. Have an open mind to the people you find quote unquote nice because you never know. Yeah. I also think if you're sitting there being like, oh, like I'm a nice guy and because of that, nobody will give me the chance. You got to get out of that mindset. Yeah. Because you're categorizing yourself. You're now saying like, oh, well, I'm undateable because of this. And that's going to come off. Like, you're going to come off not as confident. You're going to come off as like, oh, well, what we used to think, like maybe I'm not deserving of love because I'm a nice guy and everybody screws me over. You have to just know you're nice, you're awesome, you're great, you're worthy. And the right person will see that. And it's just about weeding them out and finding that right person. Yeah. Have pride in being fucking nice. Yeah. and you will nice guys do not finish last. No. Like you will end up getting the person that you deserve who is going to understand and appreciate and feel so lucky for being with you. Yeah. You will find that, I promise. I truly feel like I'm not going to find anyone. I haven't been on a real date since 2019. Can you ask your followers if they've experienced this? I'm feeling very alone. I'm definitely going to do some stories and question boxes and polls about this, but I also wanted us to talk about this because I know that we both at various points in our 20s felt this way. Yeah, 100%. I think my question would be, what is the reason you haven't gone on a date since 2019? Is it you're not feeling confident in yourself to put yourself out there? Are you not? Yeah, I would ask that listener, like, why? Because I've been there. When I was single, there were moments or very long phases of my life where I did not date anyone. Yeah. And I would be like, what's wrong with me that I'm not dating anyone? But I wasn't putting myself out there and it was on me because you have to do the work. You have to be confident enough in yourself to really put yourself out there, go on the dating apps, go to these events, talk to people. Yeah. And I think it's a two-part, I don't want to say issue. It's a two-part situation here. One, clearly there's something that's been holding you back from going on dates. And part of that, I imagine, might be internal. Maybe you gained weight during the pandemic and you're self-conscious about that. Maybe you got out of a relationship and it took you a lot longer than you wanted to heal from that. And maybe you've tried to put yourself out there, but have you really tried that much? It's easy when you try a little and you're like, oh, it's not working, like, never mind. And you kind of retreat back because you didn't get that instant gratification of okay, I'm here, I'm putting myself out there and it's working. If it's one of the first things where it's you're self-conscious about something, there's two things you have to know. One is you have to give yourself grace and know that there is somebody out there who will love you for exactly who you are. Mm-hmm. But the second part is that you also need to love yourself and recognize that you are somebody deserving of love. Yeah. And that exactly what I just said, you have to recognize there's somebody who will love me and I also need to love me. Yeah. And I know that is so fucking hard to do.
It is, because even I'm still trying to love myself.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a constant battle of that. But I agree. You have to be happy, not even necessarily happy, but you have to like who you are enough for someone else to like you.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be 100%.
Yeah.
Get 90% there and put yourself out there. And
you have to be trying. You have to be updating your profile, like making sure you have a good profile that you're proud of on the apps.
no one's going to come knocking at your door.
You have to, like, if you want to, challenge yourself. This month, I'm going to go on one date. And maybe that date comes from a dating app. Maybe that date comes from asking around to friends, to colleagues, to friends of friends. Like, hey, do you have anyone who is looking for a setup? I'd love to go on a date with someone and I'm sick of the dating apps, whatever. Find a speed dating event. Go to a concert alone, whatever it is.
Also, shoot your shot yourself. You don't need to wait for someone to ask you on a date. If you think you would vibe with someone, if you think you'd be interested, shoot your shot. Just be like, hey, let's get drinks next week.
The worst that happens is they say no and you're right back where you were.
Yeah, who
At this
cares?
moment.
Great, they say no.
Yeah.
You know how many people said no to me?
Yeah, literally same. But I promise you, you are not alone. And I literally every single person I know has felt this way.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Okay. Hi, I'm not sure if you've talked about this already, but any advice for once you're past the 4 to 5 date mark with someone you really like? We went on 4 dates, coffee, drinks, bowling, dinner. Then the 5th date was a night out with both of our friend groups. Then he invited me to a Super Bowl party with his friends. Next night, we did an at-home movie night. Where do we go from here? Can we transition to more casual hangouts, or should we still be going out to dinner, etc.? It's been a month.
I mean, it sounds like it's going great.
It sounds like you are kind of transitioning to more casual hangouts. And I think the at-home movie night was that perfect transition to doing something it's not this out event. And I think now, why don't you just say oh, do you want to come over and let's order Chinese?
Yeah.
I think that's perfect. And look, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be oh, every night we are in and not out. On a Thursday night, order in Chinese, and then on Saturday, go out, get drinks, you could also make a list. I think this is a really fun thing to do at this point is make a list together of places you want to go to.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was single, there were so many places where I'm oh, if only I had somebody I was dating to go do these things with. Mention that. Oh my God, I've been dying to go do this.
We should make a bucket list together.
Let's try this. Actually, let's make a list of the things we want to do and go do them.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're already transitioning. You're great.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
This is such a fun time. I'm smiling, hearing about this and thinking about this. You're in the best phase. Enjoy every second. Okay. I'm trying to get over the fact that I missed an opportunity with a great guy who approached me recently and was full of nothing but green flags. In hindsight, it felt like a universe giving me what I asked for moment, and I didn't realize at the time. So I didn't engage. I would have liked to, and nothing eventuated. Is that a word?
I have no idea.
Nothing came from the conversation. I tripped myself up trying to read that. Nothing came from the conversation. I reached the point where I've checked to see if he was tagged online from the location we were at and wondered if there's a possibility of me ever coming across him again. I want to convince myself to just take the win of the interaction and move forward, but none of my friends seem to be in a place to relate or reassure me. So I'd appreciate any advice on how I can move forward from feeling like I missed out and how I can assure myself that I'll be able to connect with other people again in the future.
Oh, I mean, this is just, listen, I think it's great that you met someone. I would never say it's a missed opportunity because if it's really meant to be in my eyes, it will come back. And don't harp on it. Just keep putting out good energy, keep doing you. Maybe you'll run into him again and maybe not. But regardless, of course, you're going to find that excitement with someone else.
Yeah, I think, listen, you got to let go because right now you're also building up this idea in your head that this is the perfect person and this is the one and your soulmate. And what if you never find each other again? Did you mess everything up? Did the universe put him right in front of you and your eyes weren't open enough to see? That's not how it works.
Newsflash, there is no perfect person.
Yeah, this person is also probably a walking red flag at the same time, but in the moment you only saw the green. But just don't be hard on yourself for this not panning out because who the heck knows? Maybe you and this person would have actually gone out on a date and had nothing in common.
Also, if anything, it just shows you that you can be excited about someone.
Yeah.
So just take that and
the
move
situation
forward.
itself is a win, but don't turn it into a loss by being so hard on yourself about it.
Yeah. Move on.
Thank you so much for a wonderful podcast. It's been so helpful. You're welcome. This seems like a very specific situational question, but hey, I'll give it a shot. I'm glad you did. A woman I was seeing for a couple of weeks just ended it between us, and I'm finding it very hesitant to go back into the city where we spent a lot of time on our dates because I feel like it will bring back memories and remind me of her, especially this great lounge bar, which I personally love. Any tips on how to overcome this mindset? Are there others out there who feel this way sometimes?
I mean, I felt this way for so long after my
So
breakup.
long.
It's so hard. I even feel this way, this is gonna sound crazy, after a friendship breakup, because it's hard to, when you're in a relationship, you're in a friendship, whatever it is, and you do things together and you enjoy whatever you're doing at that place, of course it's hard to go back because those memories resurface, but life's all about making new memories, and don't ditch the places you loved just because you had that with someone else. Make new memories there. Bring a friend there. Go on a new date there.
And guess what? There's no rush.
Yeah.
If right now you're worried about it, then no one's forcing you to go.
Yeah.
Give it time. Maybe in 3 weeks, you'll be like, oh, I missed that place. I'm so excited to go back.
Yeah. I agree.
I think we, and I'm such a sentimental and nostalgic person. Like
Same.
if I like went to a place once with a guy that I liked, I would never feel like I could go back there. And that would get me into trouble when I was dating people for like more than just a few dates. And we would end up around my neighborhood a lot and like going to like my local spots. In my mind, I'm like, well, that sushi place was our spot. Well, guess what? We went there once.
Yeah.
And I went there 47 times before I knew this person with other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you gotta just go easy on yourself and know that like, just because you went to this place with somebody doesn't mean you'll never be able to go back, but it also might take time for you to feel ready to, and that's okay.
Yeah.
How to handle a situation where someone doesn't communicate or text that much. We've been on a few dates that went pretty well, but there's little to no communication between dates and they take 24 to 48 hours to reply.
That's a tough one. I mean, I know there are such things as bad texters, but I also think that at that point in the relationship or dating or whatever, they definitely should be making the effort to talk to you or at least make a plan. Like, I don't think you need to be talking 24/7 after you go on a date or two.
Yeah.
But I think it would be nice to have a conversation.
24 to 48 hours is a long time to wait when you like somebody. And
what date is this after?
They've been on a few dates that went well.
Okay.
Here's the thing. It's a good thing that the dates have gone well. And clearly you're texting to plan the next date, but I am an anxious AF girly. And I know that I would be losing my shit if this were happening to me. It's very likely that he has no idea that this is causing you so much anxiety. And he is not. Actually, I'm making up that it's causing you so much anxiety because you seem fine. You're just asking the question. But I imagine it's causing a lot of stress and anxiety. But he's not going to know that unless you tell him. And I think especially if you've been on like 3 or 4 dates, I think it's totally okay to open up about that and say something like, I feel so excited every time I see you and I feel like it goes so well, but then I get in my head when I don't hear from you that much between dates. I'm just curious, like, could we text a little more between dates or like, are you just not that big of a texter?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can definitely say that. I also think about maybe what he's thinking, because maybe he's like, oh, I don't want to put... like, I don't want to be annoying or I don't want to...
He's probably not thinking that much about it.
Yeah, it's probably true. I don't know. Do you think guys think about it?
Not nearly as much as we do.
Yeah, it's probably true.
And look, here's the thing is like that need, if you have that need to text a little more than taking 24 to 48 hours to reply, like...
Say it.
That is such a normal...
Yeah.
That is such a normal need. Like, that is so acceptable for you to ask for. And that is something that I imagine this person should be able to give you without being like, oh, wow, like that person is asking for way too much. And if that's their response, then
Bye. Yeah.
Yeah. But
ask for what you want.
Yeah. Ask for what you want. Ask for what you need. And that's not, you're not asking for too much. But again, they're not going to know that this is bothering you unless you tell them.
Yeah.
We have another question, the same exact thing. I'm on 4 dates with a guy and his texting is poor, anywhere from 6 to 24 hours to respond. All right, so we got 6 to 24 hours versus 24 to 48. In person, he's engaging, curious about me, and plans thoughtful, fun dates. Should I call him out via text or wait until there's possibly a 5th date and bring it up in person to let him know that I need more? You know what? I'm glad I read this one too, because that is very, very, very important. Absolutely wait until you're in person.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do not text
do
that.
not have this conversation
No.
or any important conversation over text.
You can also make like a fun, cutie little flirty joke when you're in person about it. And like, and it'll just kind of show them like, oh, like this girl cares that I'm taking 48 hours to text her back.
Yeah. I think it's so important to do it in person, A, because if not, you're going to lose your shit. You're going to lose your mind waiting for that text back after you bring it up. B, they're not going to know your tone. Like they're going to be like, oh my God, this person's like flipping out on me, when really you're just like trying to express like, oh, I'm a little anxious when I don't hear from you. But C, especially if it sounds like everything is really great in person, then this conversation will be no big deal in person too.
Agreed. Totally agree.
But on that, I would say in this situation, because we all get into this situation so often, try your best in between these dates to just focus on the real life interactions. Because I think one of the reasons my modern dating is so hard is because we overanalyze everything that happens on text, when in reality, that's not real life. And you could go on an amazing date with somebody where you're both super interested, and then what happens over text in between can actually make you guys never see each other again. And it could all be like miscommunications and assumptions and just timing being off, and oh well, they waited 3 hours, so now I'm gonna wait 3 hours. And
I hate that.
it becomes such a mess. So really try and, you know, in those moments that you are anxious, just try and self-soothe and know that the date went well and you really have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
I've been in a situationship for 5 months with constant communication, hanging out, hooking up, and I do have feelings, but I like being single and not having to worry about someone else because my last relationship took a lot out of me emotionally. He expressed how he feels and wants to continue what we're doing, but I'm scared that because we both have feelings, it's going to go up in flames eventually. He asked me what I want out of this, and I said, I don't know. I know that's not a fair response, but it's the truth. I really value the friendship that's come out of it, and at the end of the day, and my biggest fear would be to lose that. Does that mean I should stop doing whatever it is we are doing? That's such a tough situation.
I know. I don't know. It's so hard because when you're in that situation, obviously it's much easier said than done. Someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah, that's
like
exactly what I was
someone's
gonna say.
going to get hurt. But it sounds like they're not on the same page because it sounds like he wants more and she doesn't know what she wants, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think if your biggest fear would be to lose this friendship, here's the thing. You have to accept that the friendship will change. And if you stay in this and you don't think you can get to that point of wanting a relationship, you probably will lose that friendship.
She said it's in 5 months?
Yeah.
This is
5 months is a long time to be in a situationship and not know what you want.
I agree.
And that's not to say that you're a bad person.
No, but I think that if this was someone you really wanted to build a relationship with, you would know way before 5 months.
And you know what? If you just don't feel like you're ready yet, here's the thing. If you don't feel like you're there yet because your last relationship took so much out of you and you really care about this person and really like them, maybe one day you would get there.
Yeah.
And you would want your relationship, your friendship with them to not have gone up in flames for the possibility of things rekindling down the road. I'm not saying end it now with the idea that, oh, you'll take another 6 months, a year, 2 years to heal, and then this person will be there waiting for you. That would not be fair to tell them to do, and that's not realistic. But I think if you don't know at this point, if it's not a yes, it's a no.
I agree.
And yes, sooner or later, somebody, this person you care very much about, will get really, really hurt. And as somebody who has been in his place, I'd rather have you draw the line in the sand earlier and say, I care about you so much. This has absolutely nothing to do with you. You're incredible. I'm just not ready yet. And I'm so sorry. I care so much about you. I am so grateful for the time we've spent together, but I'm not in a place where I could turn this into something more, and that's not fair to you.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I'm sorry that's really tough.
Yeah, that's shitty.
What are your thoughts on dating a divorced guy? I'm 33 and recently met a guy who's the same age, but divorced and has a toddler. I've only spoken to him one night in a bar, but we really hit it off. We're planning to go out for dinner. Kids don't scare me, though. I'm not 100% sure I want my own. However, he said he's gotten divorced in the last year, and all I know is that he didn't really want to get married in the first place. I didn't probe further as I only just met him. What red flag should I look for so as to not become a rebound? Oh, this question took a turn. I did not think it was actually going to go in that direction. I thought it was going to be about something else, not being a rebound.
Well, first of all, I want to ask this person, do you want to get married? Because he just told you that he just said, I didn't really want to get married.
Yeah.
And if that's something you want or you want for the future, that's the first thing I would think about.
Yeah.
The second thing is, I don't know if I necessarily believe in rebounds.
Interesting. Hot take.
I know.
Hot take in the house.
I know. I don't think I believe. I think I heard someone else on a podcast talk about this too, and it made me think like, wow, maybe rebounds aren't a thing.
Why?
Because I don't think it matters how soon after you meet someone. If you click with that person, regardless of when you meet them, you were going to click with them.
Yeah.
I mean, you could totally disagree with me, but I just feel like.
Yes, and I actually, part of me agrees, but part of me disagrees because you might just be looking to feel something.
Maybe.
And to just be with somebody because you're so used to having
Maybe.
somebody else in your space and having somebody to text. I do disagree because I think that's a huge part of it is coming out of a relationship. You might be codependent. You might be so used to having this other person that you're just looking to fill that void.
Okay, that I agree with, but I also don't think you should avoid someone or not go down that route.
Yeah.
Just because they had just gotten out of a relationship. Because you really never know. So I agree. You're right. I do believe that there is a part of what makes a rebound and that probably isn't good. But in this case, I would say don't not go for it just because he got out of a divorce. See if there are other things you align with and you click with and see that through.
I agree. It's also, you mentioned he was divorced last year. So that's been a year. It's not like he got divorced 2 months ago. You know, that I might be like, okay, proceed with caution.
Yeah.
But a year, also when you're going through something like a divorce or a breakup from a long relationship, usually these things aren't out of the blue. There's been tension. You're trying to work through things. And it's more likely than not that you've already started mourning the relationship long before the breakup or the separation or the divorce actually comes into play. All that being said, the only way to know if this person is ready is to ask them.
Yeah.
And that is a completely fair question.
Mm-hmm. I agree. If to anyone listening, if you meet someone who has recently ended a relationship or a divorce, you can ask like, hey, like I'm looking for something and I don't want to get into something if you're not fully healed or you're not ready. And I think that's okay.
Yeah. And not to put Kerwin, who's not here on the spot, and air out her dirty laundry, but Kerwin, one of my best friends, I officiated her wedding in the fall and she met her now husband, Sam, 2 months after getting out of like a 2.5-year long relationship.
Yeah, it happens.
But guess what? She was so done with that relationship. They had already broken up, tried to take space, ended up getting back together. It wasn't working out. Like she had already been over it. And then it just happened to end a second time. And she was excited to start dating and to meet people and to move on and find her person.
I think we both agree that don't let someone had ending a relationship stop you from getting to know them or pursuing it.
Yeah.
Like, don't let that be the reason where you're like, oh, I'm not going to go on a date with them because they just got out of a relationship.
I agree. But also do your due diligence and ask them, like, you know, maybe find out why they broke up. Because also why they broke up might give you some insight into whether or not you and this person are compatible.
Yeah. Agreed.
Transitioning from enjoying 20s to moving towards marriage and children. When and how hard is that to do? I mean, how's that for a good last question?
Yeah, wow. I mean, I wish I had better insight. I obviously am not married with kids. But I feel like you just got to take it day by day and really enjoy where you're at and enjoy the process of transitioning. I think change is so hard, but I also think change is so exciting because there's so many new opportunities. And I think you look at that with everything in life, like getting laid off or starting a new relationship or starting a new job.
Moving to a new place.
Yeah, it's scary.
Trying something new.
But try to look at the positives of what is this opportunity going to bring me? And what am I going to learn throughout this? Just like take it in.
And I think with that, don't spend all of your time thinking about the future, because if you're just future tripping, then you're not actually living in the moment. So if you're in your early 20s and you're worried about when you get to your mid 20s, then what are you doing? You're not enjoying being in your early 20s. If you're in your mid 20s and you're like, oh, but like, when am I going to feel ready to settle down? Like, you'll feel ready when you feel ready, but you might not feel ready if you don't spend your mid 20s doing mid 20s things.
Yeah.
You know, make sure you're doing all of the things that you want to be doing in this time in your life, because you're not going to get it back. And so travel, like book the flights, make new friends, go out, go to concerts, go try new things, like whatever it is that you feel like you want to be doing it, because then
And enjoy it in the moment.
Enjoy it in the moment. Eventually it'll be out of your system and you'll be ready for that next stage.
I also think enjoy the transition of it. Like it's scary, but just like take it in and be like, okay, I'm going through this right now. I am transitioning. It's a new scary time in my life, but like I'm going to enjoy the feeling I have.
I think it's also important to realize that it's going to happen at a different time for everyone. Like there's no one timeline. There's no one, it should happen at 28. Like when the day you turn 28, you should meet somebody, or like the day you turn 25, you should no longer want to be going out till 3 a.m. Like everything is going to happen differently for people. And I think that's really difficult. And like for me, if I were the first one of my friends to like meet somebody and really want to like settle down and get married and have kids, like I think I'd be terrified. But you know, I'm seeing like some of my best friends got married this year and are like starting to think about having kids, and I still can't imagine me in that position.
Fine.
But I'm excited to see them go through it. That way I'll have like seen someone close to me do it, and that'll kind of help me feel like, oh, I can do this. And so, but for my friends who are doing it, they're so excited. They're just ready for something before I am. And
I think also just don't compare yourself, because everyone has their own timelines.
Everyone has their own timeline. And guess what? You could be so ready to like plan out your timeline, and then it's going to completely not happen. On like, there's no such thing. You can't plan for this stuff. It's just going to happen when it's meant to happen.
Agreed. So just enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Carly, how many followers do you have on TikTok?
I think we're still only at, I think we're at 99.9. 99.9.
Okay, well, by the time this episode comes out,
if I'm not at 100, we're going to have an issue.
We're going to have a big problem.
I'm going to quit TikTok.
Well, Carly, remind everyone where they can find you. Thank you so much for being here for this Q&A.
Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Carly R. Silverman. And that's it.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Keep sending in those listener questions. I seriously love doing episodes like this. They're my favorite. I love answering your questions, bringing you insight, and having conversations about the things you guys are going through. So thank you so much. Don't forget to give a 5-star rating and review if you haven't yet. That is just 5 stars on Spotify, because they don't do reviews. But if you're on the Apple Podcast app, please, please, please do both. It really means the world and goes such a long way. Make sure you're following on Seeing Other People and on Instagram, and Alana Dunn on TikTok. And love you guys. I will see you next time. And until then, I'll be seeing other people.
Bye.